Wolves have massive issues when it comes to their homegrown quota for their Premier League squad, and they're going to have to address the squad in January with signings, so that leaves a massive issue for them. Now, in this video, we're going to be speaking about why they've got the issue in the first place, and we're also going to be recommending some players, some homegrown players that I believe they should be looking to bring in this window. So I hope you do enjoy the video, and if you do, before we get into it, there are 67% of you who watch these videos who aren't subscribed. I'd very much appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button. I'm about 12 subscribers away from 2,800 subscribers, and the goal by the end of the year is 3,000. So if you want to help me hit that, I'd very much appreciate it if you would click the subscribe button. It is completely free, doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps me out. And let's get straight into this video. This is Wolverhampton Wanderers' Premier League squad that they have registered before the January transfer window, and it's very, very interesting. Now, the rule is in the Premier League that 17 players can be non-homegrown and the rest must be homegrown. Now, the maximum, very, very maximum, is 17, and Wolves do have 17 non-homegrown players. And the way that Wolves have got around it is the fact that they do have only 23 players registered instead of 25. So they've got 6 homegrown players and 17 non-homegrown players. Now, as you can see, all of the players with the asterisk next to them are homegrown. So the likes of Dan Bentley, Hugo Bueno, Tawanda Chirewa, Kiana Herver, Sam Johnston, and that is essentially the list done, which is very, very interesting. Now, Wolves do need to do a hell of a lot in January with regards to business. I do think that there's going to have to be a few, ideally, in an ideal world, really, they're going to have to, offload some of the real players that they don't see having a career at the club, or players that maybe want to leave. And I think there's been a few discussions at the likes of Andre maybe looking to leave, which I do understand because he definitely is too good for the level. But Wolves just can't afford to lose Andre if they want to stay in the division, in my personal opinion. I think they can lose him in the summer, but even then, is that any better than what they've done every other year where they've lost the likes of Neto, Kilman, Mateus Cunha, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Nelson Semedo, Pablo Sarabia? Is it the exact same? Yeah, it just definitely is. So I think it's going to be very interesting to what happens in the January transfer window. Now, if you're unaware as to why the likes of Hugo Bueno and Kiana Herver, for example, are actually registered as homegrown, I'll just quickly explain to you here. As you can see, a homegrown player means a player who, irrespective of nationality or age, has been registered with any club affiliated to the Football Association or the Football Association of Wales for a period, continuous or not, of 3 entire seasons, or 36 months before his 21st birthday, or the end of the season during which he turns 21. A club's under 21 players are not included on the 25-man squad list and are eligible to play in the Premier League. So it's a very, very interesting one when it comes to Wolves, like I say, because they do only have a 23-man squad. Now, we've known for years that Wolves have wanted to keep a small squad. That started with Nuno, and ever since then it's really been the case. The likes of Bruno Lage, Julian Lopetegui, Vitor Pereira, they all wanted smaller squads. So I think it is very, very interesting. Of course, Gary O'Neill was in there as well. I think it's very, very interesting to see that Wolves have gone with that option, that they're dancing along that line, and I think it's put them in a very sticky situation, because if we just scroll up and do look at that squad again, there are a few players there that really, I'd argue, don't really need to be registered, or players that I think could move on. Now, perhaps controversially, I'd be looking to move on maybe to Tawanda Chirewa. Obviously, he is homegrown, but I don't think they need him particularly registered in the squad. I'd go for another homegrown player and ideally try to move him on. I don't think he has that much of a future at the club, which might seem controversial for many. I do think the likes of John Bellegarde, I think he may move on at some point soon. I don't know if Wolves will let him go, but I do think, again, he's one that I wouldn't be ridiculously adverse to be going. I think the number one option for me that I would be looking to ideally offload this summer would be Hwang Hee-chan for me. I think that would be the one I'd look to offload, this summer or even this winter, to be honest. I think he's the one that I'd be looking to get rid of out of that squad. I think there's an argument, to be honest, for Jørgen Strand Larsen, and I love Jørgen Strand Larsen, but I do think there's an argument that a lot of Wolves fans wouldn't be that gutted if they let him go, especially if they got anywhere near the fee that Newcastle offered. Obviously, Newcastle won't go in for him now, but another club, if they were to offer him anywhere near what they offered for Jørgen Strand Larsen, I think they'd snap their hands off for it, to be honest. And to be honest, in the situation they're in, I think they probably should, given the fact that they do need to spend in January, and we know how tight Fosun and Jeff Shee are. But I think it's going to be very interesting. And like I say, there's not many players in that squad that you would actively want to move on at this current moment. So, yeah, it's a very, very concerning one. But I would recommend Wolves do try to move on at least 1 or 2 in January. But the issue is who do you move on? Because some of them are so new. A lot of them are very new, of course. And then the rest, I think it's a risk. So it's a very interesting situation. But let's get into a few players that I think Wolves will be looking at, should be looking at, and hopefully could make a move for in January. Now, this is one that is so unlikely because of the statement that almost came out a few days ago saying that Middlesbrough really are never going to sell to Wolves whilst Rob Edwards is there, which is quite insane and it's quite an intense thing. But I think if Wolves came to him with enough money, I do think they could try and get him, to be quite honest, especially with the allure of the likes of Rob Edwards now being at Wolves and Hayden Hackney being so key to everything he's done so well this season so far. I think it would be a very, very exciting move, and I think it's one that Wolves should just go for. They may as well go for it because I think he's got more than enough quality to be in this side. I think if Rob Edwards was to play that 4-2-3-1, I think it would be interesting to see who they'd shift out of there, out of Andre or Joao Gomez. But again, for me, Hayden Hackney can play a bit more advanced. He can get involved in goals, and he does get involved in goals often. Obviously, 3 goals, 2 assists so far this season. Last season, he impressed me a hell of a lot as well in the final third. Not even just necessarily because of his goals and assists, but with regards to his overall play and his impact on games. He'd often get pre-assists, or he'd often be in and around the box making things happen whilst, you know, players are moving, and then ultimately the ball ends up at their feet. So Hayden Hackney for me is a brilliant footballer, and I've said this for how many months? 6 months probably, since the last transfer window really. I mean, he is a player that I've really liked for a long time, and I'll put the clip in here of me speaking about him previously because I have been saying that Wolves should have signed Hayden Hackney a long time ago, and to be quite honest, I think they still should. I think he would get minutes in this side. I think he would improve this side as well. And I think, to be honest, Wolves need a midfielder that can create, because as much as I love Andre and Joao Gomez, neither of them are creating a hell of a lot in the final third. They're just not. That's not their role, first of all, and it's definitely not their strength. So for me, Hayden Hackney would be a really, really smart move. He's homegrown, and it would boil a hell of a lot of Middlesbrough urine, wouldn't it? Let's be completely honest. Next up is a very dependent one, and also a very controversial one. Now, I know a lot of Wolves fans don't like him. I find it a bit mental, to be honest, because I just really like him as a player, and I think in this side, my God, would he thrive. Now, you may be wondering, that's weird. He's at Aston Villa. He's already left Liverpool, Harvey Elliott, but the case is that I don't think he's going to be staying on past the January transfer window, to be honest, at Aston Villa. I think what the smartest thing for Wolves, for Liverpool to be, doing really would be to bring Harvey Elliott back to Liverpool in the January transfer window, then ultimately loan him out for the second half of the season, and then I think loan him out to a side that are perhaps struggling a bit or a bit lower in the table, get a bit more sort of, try and get his value up, to be honest, because I think his value probably has plummeted since he's been at Villa. He's barely seen a minute. I mean, he's got 97 minutes played this season, which is just absolutely ridiculous for a player of his quality. I know you may not like it. I think Wolves could do far worse than getting Harvey Elliott on a 6-month loan. If it's going to be very hard. It is going to be very hard. But as a player, my God, would he thrive in this side? He's a player that can unlock a door. He's a player that can, strike from distance. A player that can take on a man. He's not rapid, but he's quick along the ground. He's quick with the ball at his feet. And again, he's a player that I would be crying out for him to join Wolves if I was a Wolves fan. But for some reason, people have never liked my suggestion of Harvey Elliott. Now, in the summer, I did suggest Tyler Morton. Now, if you've been keeping tabs on Tyler Morton, you will know just how good he has been at Lyon so far this season. Been absolutely excellent. And I just think that would have been a perfect move for Wolves as that third midfielder this season. They haven't gone for him, of course. But even then, I think, I hate to say I told you so, but I trust my judgment there. But with regards to Harvey Elliott, again, I do think it would be smart for Liverpool to recall him from the Villa loan. Simply just say, do you know what? You're coming back. We're going to send you 6 months to a slightly lower club where you will be guaranteed to play every single week, because he'd walk into this current Wolves side. He really would. Send him there, and then his value will go back up, and either Wolves can purchase him next season or another club can purchase him for a hefty fee. So I think it's going to be very tough to get Harvey Elliott, but it's one I'd love to see happen, to be honest. And just to conclude this video, I want to discuss a few of the links that I've seen going around. Now, for me, this is one of the most stinking things I could think Wolves could possibly do. Now, I've seen a lot of links saying that Dwight McNeil's obviously unhappy at Everton, and he will be. He's played 51 minutes this season. He's obviously suffered with injuries as well. But again, he's been linked to Wolves. Now, I think Wolves need Premier League experience. I'll make that abundantly clear, and Dwight McNeil absolutely has it in abundance. I think he's played about 250 games top flight. But for me, he's just nowhere near good enough. I'm sorry. He's absolutely nowhere near good enough. And it's a link that I'm looking at thinking it's probably the least inspiring wide man you could go for in the Premier League, or if not what, he's definitely one of them. I think him and Jack Harrison are two of the names that I've seen a linked a fair bit, and either of them are just, quite frankly, not for me, let's just say. It's just, I mean, he's 25 years old. His career's by no means over, but as a winger, he's not quick enough. As a 10, he's not decisive enough. He's never put up ridiculous numbers. I don't think he would in this side either. I don't think he'd work with Strand Larsen. I don't think he'd work. I mean, maybe in terms of his delivery from wide, but again, for me, I just think it's so uninspiring. And there's so many players that I've seen linked to Wolves this season so far, ready going into the January transfer window, that quite frankly, I am not even at all moved about. And especially this man as well, Harrison Reed, another player that for me, quite frankly, another ridiculously uninspiring move. Obviously 30 years old, not elite in any aspect of the game. It seems quite frankly diabolical. I mean, we'll see this for the next few months, and there will be videos when Wolves get linked to players, and it looks like things are going to happen, of course. But Harrison Reed, Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil, David Brooks, I think would be a decent one. Harry Wilson, I would have loved to have seen come to Wolves. Obviously, he was linked. Vitor Pereira said no, which I think is mental. But Harry Wilson and David Brooks, I think you could do far worse than. But Harrison Reed, Jack Harrison, Dwight McNeil, any players really, any clubs really that want them players in the top flight, in my personal opinion, is just not for me. I don't think any of them are top flight footballers anymore, to be quite honest. And I think Dwight McNeil, Harrison Reed, and Jack Harrison will all not look out of place in the Championship, to be quite honest. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see who Wolves are linked to, and I do think it's going to be very interesting to see who they do bring in and who they do potentially let go in January as well, because there's going to be a hell of a lot of movement, with regards to the Wolves squad. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting one. Now, if you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you would like the video, subscribe to the channel. As I say, we are aiming to reach 3,000 subscribers before the end of the year. It is completely free, it costs you nothing, and it massively helps me out, so I'd really appreciate that. Thank you for all the support, everyone, on the channel recently. Your comments mean the world, they really do. I'm so glad that you're all enjoying my content, and I'm glad you enjoy seeing a different perspective on Wolverhampton Wanderers as a club, and it's quite frankly probably the most exciting time now, because we are in the international break. It's nice to be able to get daily content for you out, and that is my promise to you throughout this whole international break. There will be a video out every single day regardless. Thank you all for watching. I hope you really did enjoy it, and I'll see you all in the next one.